Joey, I hate to introduce to you the concept of reality, but someone's gonna have to go down there and show ID before they give the car back.
Whoa, I'm still dead.
Wait, I have an idea. Anthony could do it.
No, Anthony's got his own problems. Besides, he hasn't been out during the day since he got sober.
Remember when the Remember When channel's normal narrator got the flu and we needed to bring in a pinch hitter? Well, that's today, and it's nice to meet you. Let us know in the comments how I did. Okay, let's get started.
Remember when a teenage girl in floppy flower hats somehow carried an entire network sitcom on her back? Blossom premiered on NBC in 1990 and ran for 5 seasons, following Blossom Russo, a sharp, introspective teenager navigating life with her single dad, 2 brothers, and a best friend. Mayim Bialik played Blossom. Ted Wass played her musician father Nick. Joey Lawrence played her lovable but not so bright brother Joey. Michael Stoyanov played her older brother Anthony, whose past gave the show its emotional weight. And Jenna von Oÿ played Six, the motor mouth sidekick who stole every scene that she crashed into. It looked like a standard early 90s family sitcom. It wasn't. It was quieter than most, smarter than it needed to be, and way weirder behind the scenes than anyone remembers. Today we're counting down 15 weird facts about Blossom. And stick around for number 1 because, whoa! Before we start, hit that like button and subscribe so you don't miss our next deep dive into the glorious chaos of 90s television. Now, let's get into it. Number 15. Six talks so fast, the scripts couldn't keep up.
I'm telling you, she was vicious to me. She said I looked like a bowl of elbows. And she kept calling me Sex instead of Six. I go, you're so clever, Lorraine. Like, the first person to ever call me that.
Six didn't just talk fast, she talked so fast that the show literally ran out of time. When Jenna von Oÿ auditioned for Blossom, she came in like a human auctioneer who just discovered espresso. By her own admission, she felt over-caffeinated and unleashed a rapid-fire delivery that most casting directors would have shut down immediately. Instead, the producers leaned forward and said, yes, that. Do that forever. The problem was that television runs on math. Von Oÿ delivered her lines so quickly that scenes featuring Six consistently came in shorter than planned. As in, we're not going to hit 22 minutes and someone's going to get yelled at shorter.
Mr. Russo, the world as we knew it has just changed forever. I can't believe it. Who would? Plenty of people. That's Sue, and with that soothing human bullhorn spreading around, everybody in here but even better than that.
Writers would time out a scene on the page. They'd shoot it and watch Jenna blaze through dialogue like she was trying to catch a flight. So the scripts had to adjust constantly. Extra dialogue got added, but instead of reining her in, the show embraced it. That manic energy became Six's entire identity. Chaotic, endearing, and operating at maximum volume at all times. Von Oÿ has since joked that her real speaking voice is much slower, and she intentionally left that frantic pace behind as an adult. Number 14. Blossom beat Seinfeld. Yeah, really. In the summer of 1990, Blossom walked into NBC like she owned the building. And for 1 week at least, the ratings said she kind of did. The show's pilot aired as a standalone special in July of 1990, and it dominated. Blossom landed at number 3 in the national Nielsen ratings for the week.
Well, your dad seems happy.
Yeah, so did Kurt Waldheim when he had his picture taken with Hitler.
Tell you what, Blossom, we'll take your mind off of this.
But here's the part that makes TV historians spit out their coffee. That same night, NBC also aired a rerun of the Seinfeld pilot. Back in 1990, it was still limping along under the title The Seinfeld Chronicles, and almost nobody was watching. The ratings told the whole story. Blossom ranked higher. Seinfeld ranked lower. A teenage girl in floppy hats outperformed 2 guys complaining about buttons on a shirt. At that point, Seinfeld was basically on life support. Network executives kept squinting at it like a math problem they just couldn't solve. Jerry and George were still trying to figure out how to turn mundane grievances into an art form. Blossom, meanwhile, showed up fully formed from day one. A teen sitcom that tackled real issues without feeling like an after-school special.
Is it true that because of the water retention, you're likely to be short-tempered and irritable?
Yes, I am.
Whoa.
And somehow, it still worked as comfort TV you actually wanted to watch. The ratings impressed NBC enough that they greenlit a full series order almost immediately, slotting Blossom in as a mid-season replacement starting January of 1991. Seinfeld got the last laugh and the syndication deal. Blossom got the head start and the floppy hats. Somewhere in the middle, there's a lesson about how first impressions mean absolutely nothing in television, except when they mean everything. Number 13. Blossom was almost a boy show. When creator Don Reo first pitched the concept, he envisioned something closer to Catcher in the Rye, a sensitive, introspective coming-of-age story about a brooding teenage boy. Very internal, very thoughtful. Then, a female NBC executive named Leslie Lurie stepped in with one deceptively simple note. Flip the perspective. Follow the younger sister instead. That suggestion turned the entire project inside out. Rayo kept the introspection and inner monologue structure, but handed it to Blossom Russo. The original pilot got overhauled too. Blossom's parents started out married, with her dad as a conservative accountant played by Richard Mazer. And Joey Lawrence's character was originally named Donnie, which sounds less like a teen heartthrob and more like a guy selling used stereos out of his trunk.
Okay, now look, we need something really spectacular. How about, can you fall off the top of the stairs and land on your head?
Yeah.
Now, after the pilot, Rayo retooled everything. The dad became Nick Russo, a divorced musician played by Ted Wass. The mom got written out entirely, and the whole dynamic shifted from safe and traditional to messy and modern. Number 12, Blossom cast her brother and then watched him walk away. Now, most teenage actors on sitcoms don't get a vote in casting decisions. Mayim Bialik got one anyway. Now, while the adults were busy shuffling headshots and doing network math, Bialik spotted Michael Stoyanov on another NBC show and made a casual observation. That guy actually looks like he could be my brother. She mentioned it to producers, and the suggestion stuck. Stoyanov came in, he read for the part, and clicked into the Russo family with a realism. Once he locked in as Anthony, the show suddenly had something it didn't know it was missing: gravity. Anthony was the emotional anchor.
Blossom, 8 months ago, I was so high the cops found me at 3 a.m. trying to order a Big Mac and fries from an automatic teller machine. I'm not going to throw any stones.
Through his character, Blossom tackled addiction, recovery, and family dysfunction with an honesty that most sitcoms wouldn't attempt without slapping a viewer discretion warning on the screen. Then, near the end of the run, he walked. Not because of drama or contract disputes. Stoyanov landed a writing gig on Late Night with Conan O'Brien and decided that that was the move. For a young performer with comedy ambitions, a late-night writer's room meant real credibility. So Anthony got a quiet exit to Las Vegas with his wife. The career pivot technically worked. Stoyanov went on to write for Mad TV, Mr. Show, and Bob and David, and The Dana Carvey Show, a resume that most comedy writers would frame and hang above their desks. But hindsight hit different. In a 2000 interview with People, Stoyanov admitted he regretted leaving Blossom. He said he hadn't appreciated the position he was in. Years later, he got even more blunt, calling his younger self young and stupid and arrogant for failing to nurture relationships while he still had momentum. Number 11, Blossom was used as a teaching tool in actual schools. Some sitcoms end up in syndication. Blossom ended up on those giant TV carts that guidance counselors wheeled into classrooms like they were delivering state secrets. By the mid-90s, teachers across the country were pressing play on Blossom episodes and calling it education.
My name is Blossom Russo, and I'm 18 years old and a high school graduate, which qualifies me to work anywhere in the country for minimum wage.
Guidance counselors used specific episodes to kick off discussions about addiction, peer pressure, sexism, harassment, divorce, depression, the stuff health class textbooks danced around, but teenagers were already living through every day. And somehow, it actually worked. The secret wasn't the storylines, it was Blossom talking to her camcorder. Those video diary moments hit differently. Blossom wasn't explaining a moral or wrapping things up with a tidy lesson. She was processing in real time, thinking out loud, admitting confusion, sitting with discomfort instead of resolving it before the credits rolled.
Have you ever willingly done something you knew Dad didn't want you to do?
Oh, maybe little things like being a drug addict for 4 years.
She sounded like someone their age, not an adult pretending to get it. Teachers noticed students actually responded to that. That made kids actually talk. The monologues gave students permission to open up, to argue, disagree, and admit confusion without feeling like they were being tested. Very few sitcoms crossed into classroom territory without being designed as educational programming. Blossom did it by accident, just by trusting its audience to sit with complicated ideas longer than a commercial break. Number 10, a rock and roll legend accidentally created Blossom's dad. Now, Nick Russo always felt different from other sitcom dads, less lecturing from a recliner and more actual listening. Series creator Don Rayo didn't invent Nick Russo in a writer's room, though. He met him at a birthday party. Now, years before Blossom hit NBC, Rayo attended a family gathering for Dion DiMucci. As in, Dion, the street corner doo-wop legend, rock and roll Hall of Famer, the voice behind Run Around Sue and The Wanderer and other great songs. But at home, Dion wasn't performing. He was just hanging out with his daughters, giving advice, listening more than talking. There was no ego, no mystique, and Rayo filed that away immediately. When he started developing Blossom, that image became the template. A dad who could be hip, who could be emotionally present and non-judgmental without becoming a sitcom punchline.
So what are you going to do if you're really the father?
If I'm the father, I'll do the right thing.
NBC initially pushed for something more traditional because networks love familiar, but Rayo kept circling back to what he'd seen at that party. Ted Wass eventually brought Nick Russo to life. Piano-playing single dad, a calm presence in a house full of chaos and opinions, a father who didn't need to dominate every scene to hold the family together. Nick Russo felt unusually real for a sitcom parent because he wasn't based on TV logic. He was based on a rock legend who put the fame aside and just showed up for his kids.
Oh, Nick, that was wonderful.
Number 9. Blossom let a sitcom girl say the quiet parts out loud. Before mockumentary confessionals became a network staple, Blossom Russo just picked up a camcorder in her bedroom and started talking about family, about growing up, about things teenage girls on sitcoms usually weren't allowed to articulate without a laugh track softening the edges. That choice looked simple. It wasn't. Those moments weren't setups for jokes. They were pauses, space carved out for a young female lead to process her life in real time, without a parent jumping in to correct her or a punchline cutting her off mid-thought. Network sitcoms didn't do that yet, especially not for teenage girls. Now, teenage boys got to brood and narrate their feelings, but teenage girls got to have boyfriend problems and wait for advice. Now, years later, other shows built entire formats around the same idea. Malcolm in the Middle turned it into rapid-fire commentary. Modern Family polished it into faux documentary confessionals. Clarissa Explains It All leaned hard into direct address. But Blossom, well, she got there first, without a gimmick and without announcing how clever it was being. Number 8, Melissa Joan Hart was almost 6. Before Jenna von Oÿ ever machine-gunned her way through a single scene, the role of 6 was being courted by Melissa Joan Hart, and she was auditioning for 2 shows at the exact same time, Blossom and Clarissa Explains It All. Teen sitcom Hunger Games, early 90s edition. Now, Hart went through multiple callbacks for both projects. Blossom offered a network sitcom with heart, emotional depth, and very special episodes about real issues. Clarissa offered a cable show where the lead talked directly to camera, dressed like a thrift store explosion, and treated every adult like a minor inconvenience. 2 very different flavors of smart, female-led television competing for the same actress. Hart chose Clarissa, and that one decision quietly reshaped the landscape. She became the face of Nickelodeon's weirdest, most self-aware teen show.
I'm gonna be Pearl Jam! Oh my gosh! What will I say to them? I love your music. Oh, that is so dorky. I know. I won't say anything. They'll just think I'm mysterious.
Meanwhile, Jenna von Oÿ brought a rapid-fire chaotic energy to 6 that turned the character into something completely her own. The chemistry between von Oÿ and Bialik defined the entire series. Now here's where the story gets a little messy. Hart has confirmed over the years that she was offered the role of 6. Creator Don Reo had occasionally insisted that von Oÿ was always the plan. Classic Hollywood revisionism. Everyone remembers casting differently once everything works out.
Blossom's sandwich is older than I am.
Hey, you're the one who wanted to clean my room.
Well, maybe we should rearrange your closet next.
Don't you have to go home soon? Please?
All right, I'm leaving.
Either way, both shows won. Clarissa stayed Clarissa. 6 stayed 6. And years later, Hart ended up co-starring with Joey Lawrence on Melissa and Joey anyway. Hey, quick pause before we keep going. If Blossom was part of your Monday night lineup, hit like, subscribe, and ring that bell so you don't miss the next countdown. All right, now back to the weird stuff. Number 7, the dancing intro was basically an accident. That Blossom opening where everyone's dancing, that wasn't some grand creative vision. It just kind of happened. When the pilot was being shot, Mayim Bialik started doing what came naturally. Dancing, messing around on camera with the kind of loose confidence that felt completely unrehearsed. Producers, they noticed immediately. So instead of forcing a traditional sitcom intro with a cast standing around and just smiling at nothing, they leaned into it. Once the show got picked up to series, the dancing stayed.
Don't know about the future, that's anybody's guess. Ain't no good reason for getting all different.
At first, it was just Mayim.
one girl dancing through the opening like she owned every frame. But as the series started to find its footing, the intro expanded. By later seasons, the whole cast joined in. Joey Lawrence, Michael Stoyanov, Jenna von Oÿ, Ted Wass. Now, all of them were moving together like a family that actually liked each other. Decades later, that dance is still the first thing that people remember. Bialik even recreated it recently on Night Court because nostalgia, it never misses an opportunity. Number 6. Six's name had two completely different explanations. Now, Six was already one of the strangest best friend names in sitcom history. But the explanation for her name kept changing depending on which version of Blossom you were watching and how brave the writers were feeling that week. In the original 1990 pilot, Six Lemure casually drops a line that feels more HBO than NBC. Her parents drank 6 beers the night she was conceived.
6. You have to admit, your parents did give you a weird name. 6? My father said that's how many beers it took.
Blunt, edgy, and exactly the kind of detail that told you that this show wasn't afraid to go places most family sitcoms tiptoed around. Then, the series got picked up, and everyone got nervous. That explanation quietly disappeared, replaced with a safer, network-approved alternative. Six was the 6th child in her family. Very wholesome, very much something standards and practices could sign off on without a meeting. There was one small problem, though. We never met any of those siblings. Not one. Not in all 5 seasons. Six was supposedly child number 6 in a family that appeared to consist entirely of herself. Classic sitcom recon. Everyone agrees to just move on and hope that you weren't paying attention. But here's the final twist. According to creator Don Rayo, neither explanation was the real origin. The name actually came from a kid named Seven who went to high school with his son. 6 was always meant to sound weird, not just beer conception weird. So, depending on the episode, 6 was either named after a six-pack, named after invisible siblings, or named because someone thought 7 was a cool name for a human child. Number 5. Blossom accidentally took over early 90s fashion. And before Pinterest boards and TikTok hauls existed, Blossom Russo was quietly telling an entire generation of teenagers how to dress. What started as a character choice turned into a full-blown cultural takeover. Those oversized, floppy flower hats became her signature so fast that you couldn't walk through a mall in 1991 without seeing knockoffs everywhere. The genius was that her wardrobe didn't feel like TV fashion. It felt like something that you could actually recreate with a thrift store trip. A little confidence and a willingness to ignore your mother's concerns. Combat boots with floral dresses, baggy pants and vests, menswear mixed with vintage. Nothing matched, but everything worked.
Carol Antonelli called and asked him to the dance 5 minutes ago. Yeah,
You guys have any pizza left?
all gone.
That authenticity wasn't accidental. The show pulled inspiration straight from trendy Los Angeles streets instead of studio-approved costume racks. Blossom and 6 cycled through outfits at a pace that made most sitcom wardrobes look lazy, sometimes changing looks multiple times per episode. It felt less costuming and more like raiding an actual teenager's closet. Number 4. Blossom originally opened with Bobby Brown. Before Blossom ever asked for your opinionation, the show came in swinging with something way bolder. The unaired pilot didn't open with a quirky custom theme. It opened with Bobby Brown's 1988 smash, My Prerogative. Blossom danced around her bedroom, filmed herself on a camcorder, and radiated that pure early 90s confidence while Bobby Brown declared that everybody was talking stuff about him. The vibe worked. The budget? That didn't. Now, licensing a massive pop hit as a weekly theme song is a kind of idea that sounds brilliant until the lawyers show up with a calculator. And once NBC picked up the series, My Prerogative had to go. In its place came My Opinionation, performed by Dr. John. Funky, catchy, and crucially affordable. It became one of the most recognizable theme songs of the decade.
Don't know about the future, that's anybody's guess. Ain't no good reason for getting all depressed.
But here's the weird part. Mayim Bialik's original dance moves were choreographed specifically to Bobby Brown's beat, so the entire opening had to be reshot for the series. And in modern syndicated reruns, the network sometimes slaps My Opinionation over the original pilot footage anyway, which means Blossom's dancing is visibly out of sync. Once you notice it, you can't unsee it. Your brain knows something's off, even though you can't pinpoint why. Number 3, the Blossom reboot that almost was. The weirdest part about the Almost Blossom reboot isn't that it failed, it's that it never even got the chance to fail in the first place. By the early 2020s, revivals were everywhere. Some worked and some were absolute disasters, but they at least all got made. Blossom didn't even get that courtesy. Mayim Bialik and creator Don Reo weren't out there pitching nostalgia and just hoping that someone would bite. They developed an actual series and even had the scripts written. The original cast was on board, meetings happened, networks showed real interest, but then Disney stopped everything. Not with a rejection, just silence. Corporate reshuffling, priorities shifting in directions nobody outside a boardroom could follow. Worse, Disney held on to the rights, which meant that the people who actually created Blossom couldn't take it anywhere else. No streaming platform, no cable network, nothing. The project wasn't just dead, it was locked in a drawer. The show wasn't killed by bad ideas or audience disinterest, it was killed by paperwork. And in modern Hollywood, that's the most dangerous ending of all. Number 2, Blossom changed the rules without making a big speech. Most sitcoms in the early 90s treated addiction like a guest appearance. One very special episode, a powerful monologue, a big group hug, and then you roll the credits. Problem solved. Never mentioned again. But Blossom didn't play it that way. The show made a quiet but genuinely radical choice. Anthony Russo's history with addiction didn't disappear after the credits rolled.
And you are a kid. Plus, you've got one brother who's a recovering drug addict, and Joey...
Huh?
Need I say more?
It stayed in the room. His past followed him into job interviews, family arguments, and regular Tuesday conversations. The way actual recovery works when cameras aren't rolling. That mattered because Anthony wasn't some background adult character. He was a young guy living in the same house as the dating jokes and the laugh track, and the show trusted Michael Stoyanov to play it straight without turning him into a walking PSA. Now, behind the scenes, that trust made network executives extremely nervous. They worried about the tone. They worried about jokes landing wrong, about whether letting a character with that history be funny or sarcastic crossed some invisible line. So the writers learned to thread needles, say less, imply more, and let the weight live in silences instead of monologues.
I no longer use drugs or alcohol. I used to have a problem, but now I'm sober. I go to AA meetings twice a week, and I don't intend to live my adult life paying for mistakes I made as a kid.
But the show never backed off. Anthony was allowed to struggle, make hard choices, and face consequences that didn't resolve before the theme song kicked in. Blossom never announced itself as groundbreaking. It just quietly trusted its audience to handle a complicated truth, week after week. And in doing that, it showed an entire generation that recovery wasn't a plot twist. It was a process. Probably the most grown-up thing a teen sitcom ever pulled off. Number 1, Joey Lawrence's "Whoa" almost didn't exist. The early 90s are basically unimaginable without Joey Lawrence's "Whoa" echoing through every sitcom promo. But that catchphrase came dangerously close to getting cut before anyone ever heard it.
Whoa. You mean Pinhead Fred?
The line was basically written to sound cool. The direction called for a laid-back surfer dude delivery. Basically Keanu Reeves in Bill and Ted energy. Floppy hair, chill vibes, zero urgency. It bombed immediately. During early takes in front of the live studio audience, the reaction was just silence. Just the sound of producers quietly reconsidering their life choices.
Whoa, hold it. The band.
Executives were already talking about cutting the line entirely, which is sitcom speak for "this dies today and we never mention it again." Creator Don Reo gave Joey Lawrence one last shot. No notes, no direction, just do whatever feels natural. So Lawrence went the opposite direction. Instead of cool and casual, he committed fully, drawn out, almost theatrical.
Whoa, I'm still dead.
Less surfer dude and more dramatic proclamation with his whole chest behind it.
Whoa!
The audience exploded, and that was it. The delivery locked in permanently. And "whoa" became one of the most inescapable catchphrases of the entire decade. Sitcoms, commercials, your cousin who thought he was funny at Thanksgiving, everyone was doing it. Decades later, Lawrence still deploys it in ads and cameos.
Whoa!
When pop culture hands you a catchphrase that big, you don't retire it. You ride it until the wheels fall off. All because one throwaway line got saved by a single exaggerated syllable. And there you have it, 15 weird and wild facts about Blossom. Which one surprised you the most? Which one made you want to rewatch the whole series immediately? Well, let us know in the comments, subscribe if you haven't already, and share this with a friend who still remembers every word of my opinionation. Until next time, this is Remember When.